amazing. And there's, let me go up here for a second. Do you see this dot here? That dot there? Yeah. Okay. Well, that's about twice the size of our solar system. Yeah. So, we got a long way to go, folks. we got a long way to go. A man hasn't even got to the nearest planet yet. I mean, he's got there through sending rocket, but he hasn't been in person. So we've got a long way to travel. Okay. I need to flick this. Sorry, it's frozen up again on me. Okay, there we go. This, anyone know what this is? This is called the Dumbbell Nebula. Dumbbell Nebula. And it was a star in the middle there that blew up. And it created this beautiful light. Now, the Bible says that the heavens wax old like a garment. Have you read that in Isaiah? And it says the stars are not pure in his sight. So a star can shed its outer garment, just like the Bible says. It waxes old like a garment. It sheds off this outer garment, and it lights up the sky. And when a star explodes, which doesn't happen very often, but when they explode, it can be as bright as the whole galaxy. Imagine that. This was a nebula I took. A nebula is like a firework. Think about it like a firework. When it explodes, it goes all across the sky. It's usually hydrogen combined with oxygen and sulfur sometimes, and it lights up like this is called the Trifid Nebula. It's like a rose. I had to really zoom in to take this shot. This is a wide field shot of the California Nebula. And while California was on fire, I was taking this picture. Okay. Yes, and it was a pretty big fire, this one. It spans the width of 3 moons. Actually, no, 6 moons. I'm sorry, 6 moons across. So it's a pretty big, which is about 3 degrees. So if you have the right equipment, you can see this. But let me just share with you, a lot of these pictures I have taken, they are millions of times more light than what you can visibly see, because I'm using special camera equipment that's picking up the light. This is the Eagle Nebula. Do you remember the pillars of creation? Do you remember that? This is it here. Okay, now, I did not take that. That was from NASA. Okay, but those pillars are in the middle there. I just don't have $100 billion telescope. I'm sorry. But I wish I did. But that's the close look at it. And this was an image with Hubble combined with James Webb telescope. And they can see at incredible resolution, just beyond anything I can come up with. And this is the Eye of God. It's called the Eye of God. Imagine that. Yeah, it's a nebula, and it exploded, and all these pretty gases went across the sky. And this is delightful to look at. And there's a text in the Bible says his eye is on us. And yeah, I mean, I didn't make this up. That's what they call it, the Eye of God. It's also known as the Helix Nebula. This is the Crescent Nebula. I call it the Brain Nebula. Can you see the brain in there? Isn't that amazing? A floating brain out in space. And it's made of all these beautiful different gases. Oops, we lost it? Okay. All right, this is the Lagoon Nebula. It's like a cavern of light. Reminds me of one of those jellyfish. And beautiful colors in there. And this is one of the favorite that people like to look at. This is called Pleiades. Does God speak of Pleiades? Yes, he says, actually in Revelation. Anyone give me a verse? In the first chapter of Revelation, talks about him having the 7 stars in his hand. Remember that? And in Job, it talks about Pleiades. He said, can you bind the sweet influences of Pleiades? Now, why is this interesting? Is that Pleiades is the only bound cluster we know of. That means that the stars are staying together. They're like a flock of geese. When you look at a cluster, when you study it, the clusters are separating. Stars are going their own way. But with Pleiades, they're staying together. How did Job know that Pleiades was a bound cluster? I think that was a divine insight. Yeah. Can we get a next slide? This was taken by my refractor telescope. Oh, can we go back there? This is Andromeda Galaxy. You see that? That's the nearest galaxy to our galaxy. And it is 2.5 million light years away. Yeah. And how far is a light year? It is 5.8 trillion miles. 5.8 trillion miles times 2.5 million. And that's the nearest galaxy. Okay. Next time you want to go on a vacation and you complain about the distance, think of Andromeda. Okay. And there's believed to be about 300 billion stars in this galaxy. This is the only galaxy you can visibly see from Earth with your naked eye. It's just a smudge in the sky. It's not very detailed by any stretch of the imagination, but with a telescope you can see incredible detail. All those stars you see are in our own galaxy. And there's actually a galaxy in front of the galaxy, a small elliptical, looks like a star, but sorry I don't have a pointer, but it's that biggest blob underneath. That's another galaxy. Okay, this is M81 and M82, also known as Bode's Galaxy and Cigar Galaxy. And these are beautiful galaxies. They're very close to each other, so you can see them through a fairly wide field telescope. This is Wellard Galaxy. This is taken at 21 million light years away. And there's 2 galaxies colliding with each other. That's what it is. And I got this through my small telescope, but this is, I wanted to go into an area, this is Virgo, area called Virgo, and these galaxies are, up into the 1, 2, maybe even 300 million light years away. So you can see they're a lot smaller now because we're further away, and they become less defined and more concentrated and smaller to look at. This is called the Owl Nebula. It's only 2,000 light years away, so it's very close. But there's a galaxy, I wish I had a pointer here I could show you, but there's a dot right next to it that's 8.6 billion light years away. Okay, and there's a galaxy, I don't know if you can see it, but no, you probably can't see it, but it's near there. That's 765 million light years away. This was taken, I did not take this picture, this was taken with the Hubble. So the Hubble looked at an area in the sky that was as small as looking through a straw. So if you hold a straw up to your eye, and the distance at the end of that straw is the distance that this region was taken. And it was an area where there was no light showing. And so they used their ultra deep field telescope, and they took a very long exposure, over 100-hour picture, and they discovered there were 3,000 galaxies in there. Yeah, in that one spot. And they later took another picture and they found more galaxies. And then they took another picture later, found more galaxies. As you take longer exposure, you find more detail. And so I think James Webb found like 20,000 galaxies. Told in the book Great Controversy, from the minutest atom to the greatest world, all things animate and inanimate in their unshadowed beauty and perfect joy declare that God is love. Isn't that beautiful? Now that's a border one zone right there. So so just share a little vision here. Up not so far away from us is a observatory called Lowell Observatory. Anyone been there? Lowell Observatory. It's a very famous observatory because that's where Pluto was discovered through a 24-inch refractor telescope. So anyway, after lots of thought and prayer, can we go on here? Sorry. We thought, let's build an observatory that is open to the public, that people can walk in and look at the heavens and learn about God. Not evolution, but creation. Learn about the Creator. And so right now we're in the process of getting the land. So pray for us that we can get this set up with a roll-off roof. We need a roll-off roof. And we want this to be a educational and not just educational, but spiritually edifying, where people can learn about God through the stars. So, can we get the next one? You got a question over here. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. How is it destroyed? Well, guess what? It's not destroyed yet. It's still up there. Do you mean discovered? Okay, it was discovered with a big telescope, with a very patient man. Yes, called Lowell. Can we go? Sorry. Is there a chance we can correct this, get a new one, or batteries maybe dead? This is one of my other telescopes here on the left. This is the telescope we want to get on the right. Okay, so that one is a pretty big monster. Yeah, it can see to the edge of the known universe. So we want to get that one. We got to think big, right? Dream big, pray big, and do big things for the Lord. Oops, sorry. So this is where I live. This is up in Arizona, and we live near Sedona, and it is beautiful up there. And so this is my biggest telescope. It's a Celestron, and this can see very, very close proximity to planets, and it's a very powerful telescope. So we're hoping to set this up in an observatory. Oh boy, how did we get blue letters here? He telleth the number of the stars, he calleth them all by their names. Did you know that God named every star? You had a question at the back? Can you tell us why some of the stars appear reddish, orange, and some appear blue? Yeah, it's to do with their temperature. So the cooler stars are the red stars. The hotter stars are the blue stars. Yeah, so it's to do with the temperature. So a star is, it's producing nuclear fusion, turning hydrogen into helium, and that causes a light emission. And when the temperature goes up, the color changes. So blue is hotter, just like if you look at someone using a MIG welder, for example, right? When they turn it up, it goes more blue, right, when the heat goes up. So That's what happens with the stars also. So God didn't give the role of naming the stars to Adam, did he? He'll still be there, wouldn't he? Yeah. So he chose them, and names always have meaning, right? And the meanings. Do you know that when God gave the meanings to the stars, it actually told the story of salvation? The plan of salvation was recorded in the star names. And it was covered up over time through Greek mythology and pagan gods and so forth. But originally, that's what it was given for. In fact, Genesis 1:14 says they were to be for signs, not just for times, but for signs. And God has used the heavens to be signs. Now, we got to be careful how we interpret the signs. We need divine wisdom. We need to understand the Bible, because I remember just was it about a year ago, there were people looking at the moon. Remember the lunar eclipse we had? They saw it was a sign that we had 40 days before judgment. Do you remember that? And it was in the constellation of Cephas, the whale, and it was connected with the story of Jonah preaching to Nineveh. And so there was this elaborate story about this was a sign that destruction was coming upon the earth. Well, I'm not saying that God won't use the heavens to signify that, but it has to be connected with biblical, with a biblical foundation, and it was more based on speculation than anything. You remember in Genesis 37, verse 9, when Joseph had a dream about the sun and the moon and stars bowing down to him? Okay, so he did not understand that dream until his brothers, where is it now? Oops. Okay, I've lost the text. There was a text up there. But it says in the Bible, when they bowed down to him, then he remembered the dream. Okay, so he didn't know the significance of that dream until the experience happened. Okay, so prophecy is easier to see in hindsight than it is to be able to project in the future. But God used the stars in a way to express what would happen to Joseph in the future with his brothers. And so when you combine divine revelation with the written word, with the signs in the heavens, then it becomes more solid. Sorry, some of these slides are cut off. Okay. Yeah, this was a text here. Joseph remembered the dream when the brothers came. The Egyptians worshipped the stars. In fact, they aligned their pyramids to the stars, and it was perfectly situated true north. And many people believe that the pyramids were actually observatories, and they had spotting rings in the top of the shafts, because you have long shafts. You have long shafts that are protected from sunlight. You can actually see the night in the daytime. Did you know that? Because it cuts out the extraneous light. So the astronomers of the day, they could predict eclipses, and if you can predict eclipse, then you had a very powerful combination. Pharaoh had a lot of power. If he was calling on the sun god Ra, then he had power over the gods. And God warns us about lifting up our eyes to heaven and worshiping the stars and all the host of heaven. This was expressly forbidden by God. And unfortunately, the Egyptians did this. The Babylonians also partook of this. So did the Medes and Persians and the Greeks and the Romans. They believed that when you die, you go up to become a star in the heavens. And Pharaoh had power over the heavens. And so when you look anciently through Babylon, through Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome, in fact, in the time of Daniel, There were astrologers. Astrologers also, they had significant overtones with the position of the stars and the events of the future. And this is why Daniel was brought in, because the astrologers could not predict the future. They couldn't tell the king what he dreamt and what it meant, because astrology fails to give significance to heavenly positions and heavenly signs. We need divine enlightenment. And remember Isaiah? In Isaiah, Hezekiah was sick, and God said, not Hezekiah, Ahaz, hang on a second. That is Hezekiah, Ahaz, it was the dial of Ahaz, that's right. Behold, I bring the shadow of the degrees which is gone down in the sundial of Ahaz, 10 degrees backward, so the sun returned 10 degrees, by which degrees it was gone down. So this was a sign that God was answering the prayer of Hezekiah. And at that time, the king of Babylon, Baladan, he sent ambassadors from Babylon to Hezekiah to learn what had happened, because they thought this was very significant. And instead of pointing people to the God of heaven, Hezekiah pointed them to all his stuff in his house. And God's people are often the last to understand the signs of the heavens. But Daniel, he understood, and he knew. He was told about the coming of the Messiah. And he was given the prophecy that pointed to the exact date when Jesus would come. The start of his mission, when he'd be crucified, and also when the probation of the Jewish nation would come to an end. And, there were 3 wise men. It seems to indicate that they came from Persia, okay? And these were people that studied the scriptures and also studied astronomy. And we read in the book Desire of Ages, the light of God is ever shining amid the darkness of heathenism. As these magi studied the starry heavens and sought to fathom the mystery hidden in their bright path, they beheld the glory of the Creator. Seeking clearer knowledge, they turned to the Hebrew scriptures. So these were people that were studious when it came to astronomy and the scriptures. And it was angels that appeared as a star in the sky that was leading these wise men, and also appeared to the shepherds. We read in Great Controversy, which is also in 4th, what's it now? SP, I forget the name SP, but this was one of the compilations that ended up becoming the Great Controversy. There was a comet resembling a flaming sword that hung over the city for a year. This was a comet I took actually in my backyard. But this was an omen that the city was going to be destroyed, as Jesus said. There was actually 5 signs that Jerusalem was going to be destroyed in 70 A.D. And Jesus told the people, when you see these things, flee the city. Also in Joshua, the sun stood still, the moon stayed, and the people had avenged themselves upon the enemy. Is it not written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about a whole day. So that was another time that God used the heavens. He kept the light of day. The sun didn't go down so that Joshua could fight his enemies. But there are some prophecies of signs in the heavens that are more contemporary to the time we live in. In Luke, and also you find in Matthew, it says, there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, and sea and waves roaring. We see a lot of perplexity today, don't we? Oh, okay, I'm jumping ahead of myself with that sign of Jonah here. So revelation not founded in inspiration is speculation. And you know, in every story, this is a story, a picture of the Grand Canyon. In every culture around the world, no matter what nation it is, you find the story of the flood, right? Even in Australia with the Aborigines, they have their own flood story. When I was in Japan, learning kanji, which is one of the languages, character languages in Japan, when you write the word fune, which is boat, it has eight people, or 8 mouths, symbolizing the 8 people that went into the ark. And so this shows universal commonality. So whenever you see this, same as the calendar, in every country around the world, you see the same days of the week, right? Shows commonality of origin. And it's the same with the stars. Now, in the book of Romans, chapter 10, it says, Paul says, "But have they not all obeyed the gospel? For Isaiah saith, Lord, who hath believed our report? So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. But I say, have they not heard? Verily, yes, verily, their sound went into all the earth, and their words unto the ends of the earth." Now, do anyone know where that quote came from? In the Old Testament, that last verse came from Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth his handiwork. And then after that, it quotes this. This is the verse that's quoted from. And this is saying, Paul is saying, haven't the people of the earth, even the heathen, haven't they heard the gospel? Yes, they've heard it. How did they hear it? They heard it through the heavens, through the message of salvation that was given through the heavens. Now, how could they learn that? It was passed down to them through word of mouth all the way from the time of Adam. And this is why you have all these constellations in the sky that are part of the pictorial representation of the plan of salvation. Why do we have a lamb in the sky? Why do we have a virgin in the sky? Why do we have a lion in the sky? Why do we have a set of scales in the sky, a lake of fire in the sky? What are all these significant things? Because they don't look like anything like you would think, right? You can't just draw dots to each star and think, oh, that's a lamb, that's a lion. No, it doesn't work that way. So in Psalm 19, 1-4 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech, nor language, where their voice is not heard." And there you go. It's quoted from Romans 10. "Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun." And the word line there means declaration. It means a message. The heavens sent a message. And this is something you find in Job. And the word Mazzaroth, it means constellations. That's what it means. And you've got all these different constellations. Yes?
In the Romanian Bible, Mazzaroth is spelled out zodiac.
Yeah, zodiac. That's right. Yeah. So you have all these constellations. You have 12 main constellations, and then you have 3 what we call associate constellation or decan constellations attached to each of the main zodiac constellation. So Virgo, the Virgin. In every culture, every country, Virgo means virgin. It may be a different name, but it means the same thing. And you've got Leo the lion. It's still a lion. Wherever you go, these constellations are depicted, showing communal origin. They have changed over the years through perversion of things like Greek mythology and things like that, but the divine origin remains the same. When I was younger, I used to have these dot-to-dot books. You ever had those, kids? And you draw, and what do you see already? Is that an elephant? It's a fox? It's a cat. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's a cat, right? So you draw those dots and you find a cat. But do you find that in the sky? You don't find that there, do you? If you draw those dots together, do you see the Leo the lion looks like a lion from those dots? Would that make a lion? Okay, I don't know how you would depict a virgin, but that even a person, how could Virgo even look like a woman? You can't draw that, can you? But I can see that. I can see that. All right. So that tells me that it's not up to the imagination what really caused the origin of these constellations. It wasn't they look like it. It was because God named them. That's right. That's why we have this constellation being depicted here. Now, one of the brightest stars in Virgo is the star Spica. Spica in Hebrew is the word tezmach. It means the branch. It can also mean the seed. It's the seed of the woman. Okay, Jesus is called the seed. He's also called the branch. So we see that in the sky. We see a centaur, had human and animal. But originally, it was human and divine. Who has two natures? Jesus, fully God and fully man. There's a constellation near the cross. Anciently, in Hebrew, it's called Bizar. It's mentioned in Isaiah chapter 53, verse 3. In the original, it means despised. If you look it up in the original language, it means he was despised. And you have a constellation depicting that near the cross. Okay, now, what happened when Jesus died? The sun was darkened and the veil of the temple was rent in the midst. Now, do you know that there is a cross in the sky? And do you know, this is fascinating. In fact, I think I have a picture of this here. Let me see. Do I? Okay, all right, it's a few slides ahead. Let me just go back here. You remember Jesus was in darkness for 3 hours? It says the sun was veiled. He was visible for 3 hours, and he was covered in darkness for 3 hours. Now, in the Southern Cross, you have a cloud in the cross. It's a thick absorption nebula, and it hides the glory of inside the cross. And those 3 hours, I'm going to bring you back to that because there's significance to what happened that night for 3 hours. Now, there's also a man with a sharp sickle in his hand, a constellation called Bootes. And in Revelation, there is a man who is got this sickle, okay, and he's got a crown on his head. And he's told to thrust in the sickle and reap. Okay, and you've got that in the heavens. You've got a man with a crown in his head, and he's got a sharp sickle, and he's coming forth to reap. Could this represent the coming Redeemer? Libra, the scales. You know, there's one star, one of the bright stars in this constellation is called Jubanel Janubi, and another one Jubanel Shamali. And one means the price is deficient, for all men have come short of the glory of God. The other means the price which covers, or the atonement. So you see that in the heavens, the plan of salvation. Man has fallen short of the glory of God, but God has made the atonement. Yeah, so this is why we have judgment coming upon the earth. Okay, lupus. Lupus is a medical condition now called lupus, right? But there's a constellation called lupus. In Hebrew, it's Azadah, which means to be slain. It's also a wolf. Yes, that's right. Wolf. In the Bible, it says, Jesus says, no man takes it from me. That means his life is no man can take my life from me. But I lay it down of myself. I have power to lay it down. I have power to take it again. This commandment have I received of my Father. Now, in the heavens, there's a scorpion. Anyone got bitten by a scorpion before? I was told it's the worst pain. Now, when I was in the Philippines, we had scorpions. I had to shake my pants because you'd have scorpions in your pants. And one day, my wife, she was just going to step outside the house, and she saw something. She thought it was her shoe. It was dark, so she couldn't see very well. But she just, instead of putting her foot on it, she just backed off, and she turned the light on, and there was this giant scorpion about 10 to 12 inches long. It had enough venom in it to kill a herd of cattle. And I was so thankful that she had the sense not to put her foot down, because that sting is excruciating painful. And that's that bright star at the head there, Antares, it means the wounding. The wounding. And the tail is Lazath, which means the perverse. Okay, it's interesting. One of the biggest, brightest stars in the heavens is Antares, which means it represents the wounding that Satan inflicted upon Christ. Yes, sir.
I heard just a comment on that. I heard a saying, when the sun is in the house of the scorpion, you will soon feel the sting of winter.
Oh, okay. That sounds like a Muslim saying or something. Yeah, you feel the sting. Yeah, well, yeah, it'll be interesting. Learn the origins of that. That's Antares right up there. Do you know how big Antares is? It's 2 billion miles in diameter. So if it was where our sun was, it would engulf Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, and extend between Jupiter and Saturn. And it's a huge star. And Jesus said, he beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. And in Isaiah 14 verse 13 it says, thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Where's the sides of the north? Well, in the heavens, it's actually located just above the serpent at a place called Corona. Corona has a crown. And if you zoomed out from this image, you'll see a crown sitting above the serpent's head. He's trying to get the crown, but this man is trying to hold him back in Ophiuchus. This is a beautiful constellation, by the way. If you ever get a chance to take a picture, it's very, very pretty. In fact, I've got one back here. Where is it? Oh boy, it's further back than I thought. There it is. Hang on. Sorry, not that one. That one. That is Antares in Rho Ophiuchi. That's the constellation of Ophiuchus. So let me fast forward here. Okay, here we go. So above is the crown, or corona. And in Hebrews 2 verse 9 it says, we see not all things put under him, but we see Jesus for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor. And so above the serpent's head, in the sides of the north, is a crown. And that's where the serpent is aiming for, but he's kept back by the strong man. And then we have a constellation depicted by a goat. And then we have Hercules, which is also symbolic of the seed of the woman that shall bruise his head, the head of the serpent. In fact, under his foot is the serpent, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And then we have Sagittarius, a man on a white horse, Well, it's actually perverted through Greek culture. They've made a man and a horse together, but it relates to Revelation chapter 6, verse 2. I saw, he says, a white horse, and he sat upon him with a bow, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. And in Hebrew and the Syriac name of the sign is Keseth, which means the archer. So this constellation is depicting him coming forth conquering. Then we have a harp in the sky. And one of the, this is called Lyra, the constellation Lyra. Its brightest star is one of the most glorious in the heavens, and by it this constellation may be easily known. It shines with a splendid white luster. It is called Vega, which means he shall be exalted. That is, Yahweh shall be exalted. Its root occurs in the opening of the Song of Moses. Is not this wonderfully expressive? Then we have an altar cast down. In Revelation, we have an altar cast down. Its name is Ara. And we're told when it's cast down, there's voices and there's thunderings and lightning and earthquake. And I think this is symbolizing the close of probation. And then we have a dragon in the sky, a Draco. And the brightest star is Thuban. In Hebrew, it means the subtle. And you see in Revelation chapter 12, verse 9, we have a dragon. And it's called, he's called the old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And before I talked about the goat, we have Capricornus, representing the sacrifice, the atonement that was to be made for man's fallen condition. And Leo, the lion which represents the judge, or the Lord who cometh. And the star there, that's Al-Gede in Arabic, it means the exaltation. Okay, and there's another star called Zoma, which means shining forth. So God is being exalted in his judgment. And we have Eridanus, the river of the judge. And in Revelation chapter 20, verse 11, we have a river, the lake of fire and brimstone, that the devil is being prepared to go in. Very interesting. Okay, where are the kids here? Kids, can you see a face of a witch there? And now I know you're not looking for witches, and hopefully you're not watching Hollywood, but there is, I don't have a pointer here, but the nose is in the middle. There's that white cloud, sort of bluey, then it goes yellowy. So the nose is sort of in the middle. You got the eyeball above it, and you've got the chin and mouth below it. Okay, that's called, I didn't make this up, but this is called the wizard. Okay, and so you see that there are wizards and witches cast into this lake of fire in the sky called Eridanus. Okay. Orion, now, the Lord woke me up. I asked the Lord to wake me up to take this picture. Can you see a dove? You see that? Okay, and now, this is Orion Nebula. And Orion, as I said before, it has a Hebrew word, root, which means light, coming forth as light. Okay, and I believe this is where Jesus is going to come from, right through that nebula. You know, when you look at it, it's almost like there's a veil separating earth from heaven. It's like there's a glory behind there that we can't see. Could it be? We'll see this very soon. I think so. Okay, Isaiah 50 verse 3 says, I clothe the heavens with blackness and make sackcloth their covering. In the cross we see a covering. It's called the Cossack Nebula. It's in the cross itself. Now, I'm going to keep this simple. Now, years ago, I had this idea. What would the heavens look like in the time of Jesus if you were a Jew standing in Jerusalem the night of the crucifixion? What would you see? And this really blew me away. So I had a software program that enabled me to go back in time. Now I found the time of the crucifixion based upon the prophecy of Daniel, understanding when the Passover was, adding 14 days to the new moon after the vernal equinox. And so I was able to find the date. And it was on April the 27th is the Friday. That is the day that he was crucified. April 27th, it was AD 31. Now, that was a full moon, and when Jesus died, he died on Passover, didn't he? It was a full moon. The Passover was timed to the first new moon after the vernal equinox, which was March 21st. And so the next new moon was the first day of the year. You add 14 days, you get a full moon. And it had to be on a Friday. And so, remember it says here that there was, where is it now? The third hour they crucified him, and it was about the 6th hour. There was darkness over all the earth till the 9th hour. So Jesus was not visible for 3 hours on the cross. Let's go forward here. Now, I've gone back in time to this exact date. So now we're looking from Jerusalem. Can we get that up? Keep that up. Okay. So now we're looking from Jerusalem. So see the cross? Can you see that? Okay. The time here is 10, let me see. Yeah, 7:10 and 5 seconds. So that is when the cross is visible, right up here. See that? The crux. It's called the crux. Okay, click another 3 times. Can we go? 1. Okay, see the cross move? Still on the left. Again, that's 2 hours later. That's 3 hours later. Gone. So the cross was visible for 3 hours. From this time, 1, 2, 3, gone. So God gave a visible token in the heavens as he gave a visible token on the earth. So that night, if it wasn't enough evidence, God displayed the cross in the sky for 3 hours. Now, what do you think the odds are for that happening? If I was to find one night where where the cross was visible in Jerusalem in the last 1,000 years, I wouldn't find one night. You see, the cross disappeared and it went south. It went south to the Gentiles. So as the Jews rejected Jesus, the light of the physical cross in the sky moved south from Jerusalem. They are no longer able to see. I haven't seen the cross for maybe close to 1,500 years. They haven't seen the cross in the sky. Yeah. And there's the Southern Cross. This is the cross the Jews would have seen above the horizon of Jerusalem when Jesus died. And it's flooded with stars. See, all those little specks of light, they are each a star. It's incredible. Yeah, I get to see this when I'm down south in Australia. I've seen this many times. It's one of the prettiest things to look at in the sky because it has so many beautiful different colored stars in there. And so God put the cross up for everyone to see. From the north hemisphere to the south hemisphere, God left a witness in the heavens. We're told Paul saw that the character of Christ must be understood before men could love him or view the cross with the eye of faith. Here must begin that study which shall be the science and the song of the redeemed through all eternity. In the light of the cross alone, can the true value of the human soul be estimated? All right, now, before we finish here, I've got a video I'd like to play you. Can I do that? Okay, it's a 5-minute long video. I got to present this at the Space Center a few months ago, and I've got some of my own images, and I've mixed it with some Hubble images with beautiful music in the background. So I'm just going to go upstairs to get this ready, and so if you could hold tight, and we'll put the lights on very soon. Okay, thank you. Can I go to email? Sorry, YouTube, yeah. Yeah. Can we get music through here as well? Or I could use. Can we get music through there and I just use this? Or would it come through there?
Oh, I don't think the laptop has a speaker.
It doesn't have speaker. Okay, I'll tell you what mine does. So I'll set it up and I'll play at the same time. How's that?
I like that idea.
So when I say go, we can just make it run. Okay, you ready? Okay, go. if you're ever in, if you're ever in Arizona, come look me up, and we'd love to show you the stars in a beautiful dark border 1 zone. I think you'll be really impressed. So I was told we have friends from West Salem that come all the way here to sing for us, so I'm sure that will be a blessing. So I will let you guys come up and sing for the Lord. So come on join us. Thank you.
Well, everyone, we're going to sing page 187, and this was kind of unprepared. We just didn't have much practice or anything, so we thought we'd come here to sing around the table, and then they put us up here, so we'll see how it goes.